Turn with me to Ecclesiastes chapter 1. We're going to jump right in chapter 1, verse 1, Ecclesiastes 1. But as you're turning there, I've been thinking about it. I'm a little bit older than you guys. I've been thinking about life being existential, and I've actually come to believe this, that life is meaningless. Life is meaningless. Why did I hear a woo? What on earth? Why are you wooing that? Life is meaningless. And if you don't believe me, it's in your Bible. So let's actually jump right in. We're right here. Ecclesiastes 1, verse 1, the words of the teacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem, meaningless. Meaningless, says the teacher, utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises, the sun sets, and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the north and turns to the south. Round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place the streams come from, there they return again. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor its ear its fill of hearing. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which one can say, look, this is something new. It was here already long ago. It was here before our time. No one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow them. Hey, I just want to say welcome to CY. You picked one heck of a night to show up to church tonight. If this is your first time, please make sure you stop by the Red Bull bar. We'd love to give you a drink as you are now handling this existential crisis that our text has just foisted upon you. And maybe your parents are going to be like, well, what did the pastor talk about? Well, he said like everything's pointless and I'm just going to die. Here's the deal. It's in the Bible. Can't argue with me, but this is in the Bible. But hear me. Of course, I believe that you guys have meaning. Of course, I believe that life has purpose and has meaning, has value. Otherwise, I wouldn't be on this stage. And I don't know what it's been like for you guys this week. Because who went back to school this week? Everybody went back to school, okay? Who's kind of already ready for school to be done? I feel you. So I don't know if you've heard this week. Maybe I don't know what situation you're dealing with your friends, with your parents maybe. But you do have value. You have meaning. You are special. You are unique. And I'm glad that you are here. If nobody's told you that, I want you to know that I'm glad that you guys are here right now. You guys are the best, okay? So if nobody's told you that, hear that from me. Of course, I believe that life has value. But here's the thing. I want to spend the rest of our time talking about something that's kind of uncomfortable. You guys are in high school, so I think we can just kind of dive into uncomfortable topics. And so the title of my talk tonight is Stop Wasting Your Life. Stop wasting your life, because here's the deal. I believe that some of you, even in high school, I know some of you, you're starting high school for the first time this semester. I believe that maybe some of you are already in danger of wasting your life. And I just kind of want to speak to you honestly, if that's okay. So stop wasting your life. Look at verse 2 with me again. Meaningless. Meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. Again, if you're new to the Bible, maybe you've never read the book of Ecclesiastes, you're probably wondering, why are you making me read this now? This sounds depressing. I'll be honest, it is. This is kind of a depressing book. Sometimes you read it. Sometimes you read passages in the Bible, and it's like, is this actually in the Bible? Well, it is. Guess what? It is. And for some context, trying to understand this book that we're reading, it was written by a guy named Solomon. Who's heard of Solomon? Solomon, okay? Solomon, son of David, David the giant pickle. You guys raised on VeggieTales. Is that just me? Am I dating myself? Man, make some noise for VeggieTales. Well, like OG VeggieTales. Like, I've seen some of the new stuff. It sucks, dude. It sucks. I'm talking OG VeggieTales. But okay, so David's son Solomon, he takes the throne after his father dies, and really, Solomon, Israel really hits its peak. Like, of all the times you want to live in ancient Israel, it's under Solomon's reign. They have the most land, they have the most economic prosperity, they're at peace, they're not fighting, it's great. It's a good time to be an Israelite. And what's really interesting is that Solomon, if you know his story, when he takes the throne, God basically says, hey, Solomon, I will give you whatever you want. I'll give you anything you want, right? I mean, I want God to ask me that. He's never asked me that yet, and I'm kind of bummed. So Solomon, gets his chance to tell God what he wants, and this is what he says. He says this in 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 9. He says, "Give your servant a discerning or a wise heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong." That is not what I would have asked for if God had basically said, "Hey, here's a blank check, dude." I don't think I would have asked for wisdom. So I really respect this guy because he's a better man than I am. But he could have asked for more money, more power, more fame, but he didn't. He said, "I just want to be a really good king to your people. Can you help me do that?" And God did. He honored that request. And he also gave him lots of fame, lots of wealth, lots of success. And ultimately, Solomon is known as one of the wisest people in human history. He goes on to write some of the Psalms. He writes some of the Proverbs. He writes this book. He writes the Song of Songs. But this book is interesting. Ecclesiastes is interesting because this is kind of at the end of his life. This is Solomon as he's an old man. He's been there. He's done that. And he's kind of not doing okay. If you've read the book of Ecclesiastes, you know that. Solomon's not doing okay right now. He's not in a good place. Because he finishes out his life. He finishes out kind of all the things that he's learned, and all he says is, this is meaningless. This is pointless. This is a waste of time. That's kind of a bummer way to end your life. This is a waste of time. And in this book, it's interesting. Solomon doesn't really identify himself as that. He just takes the persona of the teacher. So imagine Solomon, he's wandering the streets of Jerusalem, kind of this wandering kind of weirdo. We know wandering weirdos who walk the streets here in Albuquerque. Imagine that he's one of that, except he's preaching a sermon, and he's telling people about how, hey, everything you know, I've done everything, I've been there, I've done that. It was all terrible, it was all a waste of time, and you shouldn't do it. Okay, because here's the deal. He did all these things. He did everything that the world offers as this is successful, okay? He had lots of money. He had lots of fame. He had lots of success. He was wealthy. He had lots of sex. He was doing great, okay? And he says at the end of all of it, this sucks. This is empty. I'm depressed. I wish that I hadn't done any of this. That's a tough place to end your life. And throughout the book, as you read it, you see that Solomon discovers, he tells us that sex doesn't satisfy, money doesn't satisfy, fame, success doesn't satisfy. It doesn't ultimately fulfill the void of meaning that we all have as humans. It doesn't fix the problem. Because he achieves everything a human being could or should want, but he's left wanting at the end of it. It doesn't have what he needs. And we just read this. We read a 3,000-year-old poem, and you might be sitting here thinking, man, that's cool. I don't understand what relevance some ancient depressed dude 3,000 years ago has to my life as a high schooler, right? Like, I don't know how Solomon's going to help me pass my math class. And that's a fair point. That's a really fair point, okay? There's a huge culture gap. You're not a king. You're not living in ancient Israel. You're not hyper wealthy. If you are, you're hiding it really well. But you're not hyper wealthy. You're just like, I don't understand what this dude has to do with my life. But the fact is, I actually believe this. Solomon has a lot to say to what we face now. Solomon, his culture then, there's a lot of similarities to what we deal with day to day. So I actually think that, yes, this is a really old poem that we're reading. I think it has a lot of relevance to what you guys are facing. Like I said, none of you're not an influential world leader because you live here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Sorry, that's how it goes. But let's be honest, who among us would not mind, 1 or 2 million followers on Instagram or TikTok, all the sponsorship deals, free stuff, right? Money, that'd be great, okay? Or maybe for you, you're just like, I don't really need, I don't need lots of followers, but I just want to do really, really well in school. I want to keep that 4.0 so I can get into a good college. I can go to an Ivy League. I can get a great job. And then I can make a lot of money, okay? Maybe for you, maybe that's not something you pick up from culture. Maybe that's even expectations your parents have of you. That's your parents' view of what makes a successful human being, is you do those things. Or, let's just be real, you're not going to rack up the body count that Solomon did because he had 300 wives, 700 concubines. He had that dog in him in the worst way possible. You're not going to rack up a body count like that. But maybe, if you're honest, you are already on your way to sex addiction the way this dude was. whether that's porn, whether that's hooking up with people, you just can't seem to stop. You can't get enough. So maybe Solomon, his world, isn't actually that far removed from our own. Maybe he actually has something to say to us. So whatever your dream, whatever your goal is, in one way or the other, it's not going to satisfy. I'm just going to tell you right now. It's not going to satisfy you. Solomon's going to say the same thing. It's meaningless. Meaningless. And here's what we're going to do tonight. I got some good news and I got some bad news. Who likes good news first? You guys like good news first? I'm going to give you the bad news first. Because here's the deal. If I tell you the good news first, you're just going to leave. So I got to keep you engaged. So we're going to do 2 pieces of bad news, 1 piece of good news. Can we do that? First piece of good news, of bad news. Whoop, there we go. First piece of bad news, your hustle is hopeless. Your hustle is hopeless. Look at verses 3 through 6 with me again. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises, the sun sets, and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north. Round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. The key to this entire book is found in verse 9, that little 3-word phrase, verse 3, under the sun. Turn to your neighbor, say, under the sun. Under the sun. What does that mean? It means that everything that we do as humans, everything that we do in our lives happens under the sun. For you, you're a high schooler, you wake up earlier than you should. I'm so sorry. You wake up early, you go to school. You do that under the sun. You listen to your teachers drone on under the sun. You have lunch. You take a break, right? You do sports. You come home. You do homework. You wake up. You do it again. All of that happens under the sun. That's how Solomon would describe our earthly lives. All of that happens under the sun. What's really interesting is if you read Ecclesiastes, Solomon has some funky ideas in here. Like some ideas that I would honestly say as a pastor are wrong. Like he has some wrong ideas here. Because again, he launches off his book and says, everything is pointless. That's kind of a tough way to start a book of the Bible. Like I said, this is in the Bible, and sometimes like, wow, is this actually in the Bible? Well, our own senior pastor said this. He said this describing Ecclesiastes, that Solomon's observations, so the things that Solomon sees about the world, Solomon was a smart dude. He could see how things worked. His observations were correct, but the conclusions that he drew from those things were wrong, okay? So Solomon, he's wrong here in this book. He sees the things that are true, but he draws the wrong conclusions about them. He looks at the world, he looks at how, even he in his own life, he worked so hard, he made so much money, he made things so successful, he hands it over to his son, Rehoboam, and Rehoboam's a bum. Rehoboam blows all of his money. And he talks about that. He says, like, hey, you make all your money, you hand it off to your kids when you're dead, and you have no control over what they do with it. That's literally what happens to him. His son's an idiot, okay? He's frustrated about it. He's like, I did all these things. I was so famous. I slept with a lot of people, and it didn't fix anything. Nothing was able to fix this dude's aching, nagging, longing in his soul for meaning. None of these things were adequate. But more than being a depressing book, which it is, the fact is, I think Solomon actually speaks to where we're at in our own culture today with the influence of secularism. Because like I said, this is a 3,000-year-old poem, but Solomon actually speaks to the fact that what we deal with in our day-to-day life, this idea of secular culture where you don't need God, you don't really need any sense of truth. You just do what works for you. You just do what makes you happy. That's really all that matters. That's the culture we live in. That's the culture that you deal with every day of your life. You deal with it at school, at home, on your phone. Secularism. And I think that Solomon, while he could not have predicted all of what we live in, I think that what he's saying really speaks to us. Because secular culture is empty. It's empty. Yes, it sounds great. Yes, the idea of you getting to do whatever you want with no limitations sounds great, but I'm sure that even some of you now, you've tried that and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't satisfy. Solomon's in that same place. And I think that in some ways we see secular culture expressed in the hashtag grind set, Hashtag I'm an entrepreneur. Hashtag no days off, right? Who's experienced that, right? You've seen people just like they're hustling, even at your age in high school, they're trying to pretend like they're an entrepreneur. They have like multiple side gigs. The whole like I'm a Sigma. It's okay. All that means is you're awkward, and that's okay. You can be awkward. I'm awkward if you've ever met me. It's okay to be awkward. You're not a Sigma. That's a made-up name. But regardless, this whole hustle culture where everybody's trying to make money, everybody's trying all these side hustles, that's okay. And I'm just going to say this. It's okay to make a good paycheck. You need to make money to survive in this world, and a lot of people have to work multiple jobs. I'm not saying that's a problem. What I'm saying is a problem is when the paycheck that you get means everything to you, that you will sacrifice whatever is necessary for you to get that paycheck. For you to see a certain amount in your bank account, you will do whatever you need to. That's the problem. That's what I'm talking about. We think that sacrificing our family, our lives, our emotional health for a paycheck is worth it. Because why? Because secularism has told us, do what you need to survive. Do what you need to get what you want, what makes you happy. And for some of you, what makes you happy is having lots of money. So our culture says, do whatever you need to make that money. Do whatever you need to make that money. As long as we work hard, as long as we grind, as long as we don't take days off, we're thinking, hey, man, this sucks. This is awful. I'm so tired. But you want to know what? I got lots of money in my account. Then it must be all okay. And I want to say this again, because you might be thinking, man, is Taylor telling me that I'm not supposed to work a good job and just, work 20 hours a week? No, no. When it's time to get a job, get a good job. You should get paid well. And I also know this, that I know a lot of you guys have big dreams, right? You want to finish high school. I know some of you are just starting high school. Some of you are finishing high school at the end of this school year. And some of you got dreams. You're excited. You're going to go. You want to keep your grades up so you can go to college. You can get into a good college. You can get a good degree. You're going to work hard for that degree. And then you're going to graduate. You're going to get that job. And if you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a doctor, accountant, engineer, whatever, that's cool. Honestly, thumbs up. You should do that. You should absolutely do that. I'm not saying that all of you should drop out of school and live in poverty. No, go to school, get a good education, get a good job. If you put in the time to get the training, we should pay you well as a society. I'm good with that. If anything, this world, our country needs more engineers and lawyers and doctors who love Jesus. So that's what you feel like your calling is, then go for it. But regardless of what career you want, the problem emerges when you think of you only see the paycheck. Because I've met people like that. I've met people like that who they're pursuing a degree. They've been working their whole lives towards something that they hate. Why? Not because they want to go be a chemical engineer. It's because all they can see is the paycheck. All they can see is, oh man, that's going to make my life better. I'll do a job that I hate, and I haven't even started the job, and I know that I hate it, but I'm going to do it for the paycheck. What are you doing? What are you doing? I talk to people like that all the time. It bums me out. That's not good. Have your dreams. Pursue your dreams. Honestly, I mean it. Get a good job. Work hard. But don't let your dreams be all about the dollar signs. Don't let your dreams be all about the dollar signs that you're going to see in your account. Why? Because Solomon tells us the same thing. What do people gain from all of their labors at which they toil under the sun? Generations come, generations go, but the earth remains forever. No matter how hard you work now, no matter what kind of job you get in a few years, no matter what kind of money you're making, and some of you, you're going to make some good money. Congratulations. The problem is, when you die, you don't take a cent of it with you. On the other side of eternity, none of it matters. It does not matter how much you made in eternity, because you don't get to take any of it with you. So just keep that in perspective. It's temporary. You can sell yourself to your career. You can sell yourself to get the right job, to get the right opportunities. You can do that. You make your own choices. But just know it's temporary. It's not going to last forever. You'll work for a few decades. You'll make a lot of money. But then what happens? Was it worth it? I think Solomon would tell you what the answer is, but you're going to have to decide that for yourself. Was it worth it? You want to know what's going to happen when you die? The sun is going to rise in the east. It's going to set in the west, right? Just like Solomon says, the wind's going to blow from south to north. The earth's going to continue spinning long after you and I are 6 feet in the ground. okay? The world does not actually revolve around you. The world does not revolve around me. Because as soon as we die, it's over. From an earthly perspective, it's over. World keeps turning, world keeps spinning. Was the money, was the fame, was the success that you've been pursuing worth it? So don't build your life on a dream that is not going to outlast you, okay? Don't build your life on a dream that will not outlast you. A paycheck will not outlast you. A career is not going to outlast you. A brand deal is not going to outlast you. It won't. All you're doing is slaving away your entire life to get a paycheck, to get fame, and that's going to mean nothing on the other side of eternity. Like Solomon says, meaningless. Everything is meaningless. Your hustle is hopeless. Second piece of bad news is that your experience is empty. Your experience is empty. Look at verses 7 through 11 with me. All streams flow through the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place the streams come from, there they return again. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which one can say, look, this is something new. It was here already long ago. It was here before our time. No one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow them. About 6.5 years ago, my wife and I, we took an incredible trip to Cancun, Mexico. Anyone been to Cancun? It's great. Like, honestly, if you ever have a chance to go, you should go. Okay? You should go. It's fun. And still 100% one of the top 3 best vacations my wife and I have ever been on. And part of that is we went to this one place called Chichen Itza. I should have a slide for you of that. It's this pyramid in this Mayan city, and it was made 1,400 years ago. It's this really cool pyramid. You've probably seen it in textbooks. You've seen photos, maybe like the one we're going to have here on the screen in a second. But it's a cool place. And again, you should go there. You should go there. You should see it. But this is what happened, is as we're walking through this city, we're seeing this pyramid, which is huge. It's massive. It hit me. Hey, this is new for my wife and I. We've never been here before, but it's not like people haven't been here before. So I did the research. I actually looked. The year before we went, 2.6 million people went to that same place. 2.6 million people had a tour guide. 2.6 million people bought the same souvenirs, walked on the same places, took the same photos. 2.6 million. So yes, it was new for us. It was not new for humans. People have been doing that, had been doing and visiting it since people had gone there after we left. And that will continue. So it doesn't matter how fancy, how cool it looked at the time, it's not actually new, right? That's what Solomon means when he says in verse 9, what has been done will be done. What's been done will be again. What has been done will be done again. There's nothing new under the sun. Think about it this way, right? Do we got any Disney fans in here? Okay, a couple people, a couple woos. You guys are having a tough time. Disney's not doing great right now. But let's just be real. Remakes and sequels. We need to have a conversation about that because this is a problem, okay? I don't think that anybody at Disney has a new idea. All that their idea is just let's just make another sequel. And if we've already made sequels, what if we do a live-action remake, right? So this was interesting. I didn't know this until this week. There's a Moana 2 coming out, which I'm actually kind of excited for. Moana 1 was pretty cool. But there's also a live-action Moana 1. So why? I have no idea. And based on the track record, if you've seen any of these live-action remakes, they're worse than the original, right? So just we don't even have new ideas. We're just making the same movie over and over and over again. It's awful, right? But here's the deal. If you are trying to find meaning, you're trying to find purpose in the next new thing, the next vacation, the next group of friends, the next relationship, it's going to be fun for a while, but guys, I'm telling you right now, it's empty. It's going to leave you wanting more. It's going to leave you wanting more. These things are not going to satisfy you. So I'm not trying to say here right now, hear me though, not trying to say that you shouldn't have new experiences. Not trying to say that you shouldn't go do new things. You actually should, because guess what? Life is all about learning new things, doing new things. I'm doing it too, man. I'm not normally a person who likes risky behavior, but I bought a motorcycle 2 months ago, And it's fun. It's really fun. It kind of scares me, but it's still fun. It's exciting, and it's new. I've never done it before. And it's been really exciting to learn how to do it, to start riding to work. I love it. Okay? Do new things. Go to new places. Meet new people. I think God designed us to learn about the new experiences that he's filled this world with. But if you look and expect for those experiences to solve all of your problems and to make your life so much better, we got bad news for you. It's not going to work, right? It's not going to work. If you look to an experience to satisfy you, it is always going to leave you feeling empty. It's going to leave you feeling empty. I mean, think about this. The amount of new things we have, right? This is what culture tells us. It's just like, hey, there's a new thing coming out. You have the old thing. The old thing is boring, right? You have the old thing, you want the new thing. The new thing is so much better. And then you see all of your friends, they get the new thing, and you're looking at your old thing and just like, man, this sucks. I want the new thing. But if I get it now, it's not the new thing anymore. So guess what? You're just like, okay, well, I didn't get the new thing now. I'm going to definitely get the new thing next year, okay? You don't believe me, dude? We're on like iPhone 16, man. We keep doing this, and I keep falling for it too. So do you, right? Like, let's just be real. Is the phone that's going to come out next month any different from the phone you have now? No. Is it going to text and make calls and have apps? Yep, it's the same thing, but they keep getting us. Why? Because we like the new thing. We're always chasing something new. Because we think, oh, if I have this new thing, my life is going to be so much better. Guess what? It never is. Never is. Experiences are empty if that is your only reason for living, okay? If your only reason for living is just the next new thing, guess what? That's a scam, dude. That is culture's scam. All you're just going to be doing is just spending money. And spending money, blowing all of your money, all of your life on trying to get the next newest thing, that's just a worthless use of your time, because guess what? The new thing is only new for a while, okay? Humans aren't really that smart. We just offer the same thing over and over and over again, right? You go to a coffee shop. My wife and I, we went to this really cool new coffee shop that opened up in town, and it tasted good. Like, coffee was good. We loved it. We had a good time. It looked like every other coffee shop I've been to. Like every other third wave coffee shop, it looked exactly like it. Like, it's got the shiplap everywhere. It's got the white bricks everywhere. Not saying anything because we got white bricks in here. That's okay. But like, just the reality is, like, this coffee shop looked the same as every other coffee shop in the world right now. And it was good. That's how things are. New restaurant opens up. Oh, I want to go see it. New group of friends. Maybe this group of friends won't treat me bad like the last one did. Oh, guess what? They did. Maybe this new relationship will be so much better than the last one. Oop, nope, just kidding. It ended the same way. Okay? We're always chasing something new. And if that's where we expect to find meaning, to find purpose, it's empty. It is never going to satisfy you. Verse 8. The eye has never enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. And that is a poetic way of saying that what the world offers you will never satisfy, okay? Your eye's never going to see enough. Your ear's never going to hear enough. Let's put it in terms we understand, like with a bank account. I'll just tell you, no one in human history has ever looked at their bank account and been like, I have enough money right now. That's good. I think I'm going to stop. No, right? You look at your bank account and you're just like, I need more. I need more. Man, I want to get this new thing. You might even think you're satisfied, but then you see whatever the new thing is that you want, and you're just like, dang, I don't have enough money to get that, right? Nobody's ever looked at their bank account and truly said, I'm satisfied with how much money I have right now. No, it's always, I need more, I need more, I need more. None of these things are going to satisfy you the way they think. The way you think it will. You will get bored of what you have. You'll get tired of it. You'll want something new. You'll need to get more money to afford it. Guys, this is the human experience, okay? This is economics 101. None of these things satisfy. And thank you for staying tuned this whole time. I get it. We've been talking a lot of bad news. So here's a piece of good news. Bad news is your hustle is hopeless. Your experience is empty. But the good news is this: unless your hope is in him. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to read what I think some of the most important words that Jesus ever spoke. And he spoke a lot of important words. I think these may be some of the most important that he ever shared. This is out of Mark chapter 8. Then he, Jesus, called a crowd to him along with his disciples and said, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves, take up their cross, and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me and for the gospel will save it. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul?" That's heavy, right? That's heavy. You could gain the whole world but lose your soul. That's exactly what happened to Solomon. He gained the whole world. That dude had everything that he wanted, everything that you could ever want, but it didn't matter. I'm really glad that Jesus tells us that this is a problem, that you can pursue all of the things that Solomon is pursuing and yet miss and yet lose. All the power, all the fame, all the glory, all the sex this dude could have didn't fix the problem. His life was just as meaningless as it was before he had all those things. He gained the whole world, but it left him empty. And let me just be real with you guys for a second. Solomon achieved more than you probably ever will. I'm not trying to say that I have low expectations. I got high expectations for you. But just the reality is, Solomon has achieved more than you or I probably ever will. Here's the problem. Give me a sec to be kind of a dad, go into dad mode here. The problem is I see a lot of you still trying to follow after Solomon's example. And I'm worried that some of you are following after Solomon's example, that, hey, I know that this is empty. The Bible tells me that this is empty, but man, I do want a lot of money. I do want a successful career. I do want to have all these relationships because that'll make me happy. And guys, I'm telling you, I'm worried that you are following Solomon's example. You think that achieving success, achieving fame, achieving wealth, indulging your sexual appetite without limit, that is really going to fix the problem that is nagging you when you go to bed at night. That's a tragic lie. Honestly, I'm worried. Think of me as like an older brother. I'm worried of the direction that some of you guys are walking down. I'm worried that some of you guys are walking toward destruction. That's not what Jesus wants for you. He offers us a better way. It's the way of the cross. It's the way of discipleship. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world and yet lose their soul? What good is it? The band can head on back up. The fact is, you want to gain the whole world, it's tempting to gain the whole world, right? It looks simple when we're sitting here in church, but when you're out there, you're in school, you're working a job, the world's tempting. Can we just acknowledge that? The world looks good. I want to gain the whole world. But Jesus is here to offer us a perspective that we don't like, that we could gain everything that the world has to offer and we could lose everything at the same time. We can gain everything that doesn't matter and we will lose the one thing that does, our soul. And what's crazy is the fact is that Jesus tells us to do the one thing that culture doesn't understand, doesn't get, and that's to give it up. That's to walk away. Culture, everything that Solomon experienced and everything that you are told to experience in your life is all about getting more things, getting more money, getting more experiences. And Jesus is here saying, he's the one voice saying, actually, I need you to deny yourself. Actually, I need you to understand that the earth does not revolve around you. Your happiness is not going to be found by you doing what you want. And that's a hard message. That's a hard message even for me, right? That's a hard message for me to understand, for me to believe, because I like to make things about me. I'm selfish. I'll confess it. I'm selfish. So are you. And Jesus is telling you to do the one thing that your fleshly nature, your human nature says, don't do. Don't do. What do you mean give it up? What do you mean deny yourself? But Jesus is saying by denying yourself, by dying to what you want to do, and by giving Jesus the control over your life, that's the way to success. That's the way to true meaning. That's wild. And our culture doesn't understand that. That's because Jesus' world works upside down. It's different than the world that we live in. But that is the most important choice that you will make is, are you going to pursue, like Solomon did, are you going to pursue everything that the world tells you to pursue? And you might think, hey, I can have both, right? I can be a Christian and I can pursue wealth. Well, Jesus says, nope, not quite. You can only worship one. You can worship either God or you can worship money. You can worship God or you can worship sex. You can worship God or you can worship power and fame. You can't have it all, okay? I'm so sorry. You can't have it all. You have to pick one. Are you going to deny yourself? Are you going to take up your cross? Are you going to live a life of sacrifice? Or are you going to pursue what you want? You're going to pursue getting rich, sleeping around. You're going to pursue success because that is what the world tells you. And I want to tell you this. I met a guy a couple years ago. We'll call him John. I met John. He was in a really tough place because this dude had it all. He had it all. He had a good job. He was successful, good-looking dude, made a ton of money. He told me how much money he had in his bank account right now, and that was a weird flex, but he did anyway. He had it all. He had a great career. He had a lot of money. He could buy whatever he wanted, and he not only did he have like a trophy wife and some kids, but he'd also spent the last few years buying drugs and going to see prostitutes because he was like, I want to live it up. I got the money. Who cares? Well, it's a bummer because when I met him, everything had fallen apart. His wife found out. His kids found out. That was a tough time. It was a really tough time. He realized that everything he had been living for up to that point was pointless. And it's tough because here's the deal. He was a lot older than you guys. It took him years to figure that out. And he figured it out tragically. It's like Solomon. He was older. He made a lot of mistakes. And imagine what that was for a guy 20, 30 years older than you now to realize, man, I've spent my entire life chasing something that was meaningless. I wish that I could have made the right decision earlier on. So I realize this message has been pretty upfront. I've been pretty direct, but it's because I worry because I've seen where this path could lead. I've seen where it leads. I don't want you guys to walk that path, but I worry that some of you are because it's tempting. It's easy to walk that path. That is the path that the world gives to you, and it seems like a better path, I'll be honest. What? All the money you could want, all the success you could want, all the sex you could want, or Jesus, how about deny yourself and don't chase after those things? Can I just be honest, as a pastor, that's a tough pitch. It's like, thanks, Jesus. That's not the most exciting message. That doesn't fill rooms. That doesn't fill stadiums with people who want to hear about, hey, you need to die to yourself. But Jesus tells us that is the one way to find true meaning. The meaning that Solomon couldn't find is the meaning that Jesus offers to you. And so you have a choice, and that's where I want to leave it tonight. You have a choice. Which path do you choose? Do you choose the path of Solomon, where you pursue everything you want, everything your heart wants? You're going to realize at age 60, age 70, that all of it was meaningless, and you're going to regret that you could come back here where you are now and make the different decision. Or now you can decide, I'm going to follow Jesus. I'm going to follow the way of the cross, where I pick up my cross and follow him. I deny myself, and I go where Jesus goes. I live my life devoted to the gospel, not to getting more stuff. Because if you're in this room, I'm hoping that a lot of you, you've experienced the love of Jesus. Rather than devoting yourself just to yourself, devote yourself to telling other people, right? You want a life free of guilt and shame and condemnation? That's better than anything money can get you. Money doesn't buy your guilt away. Sex doesn't get your guilt away. If anything, those things just add more guilt, add more shame. Jesus is the one message in the world where he says you can actually have freedom from all of that. So that's the choice. That's where I want to leave it tonight as we move into a time of worship is ask some honest questions of yourself tonight. What am I actually pursuing? Because Jesus is telling you, you can't sit on the fence anymore. You don't get to. You have to pick one. Are you going to pursue everything the world says is important? Or are you going to actually say, you know what? What Jesus has is better. It hurts. It hurts to give up what the world says is important, but what Jesus has is better. You need to ask that question of yourself. I need to ask that question of myself. So what we're going to do is we're going to pray. We're going to worship some more. But as we sing, I want you to ask that of yourself. Who am I actually following after? Am I following after me and what I want? Or am I following after what Jesus is offering? Let's pray. Father God, we thank you for your word, even the parts that are tough, even the parts that are difficult, that are uncomfortable. We know that you love us, and we know that you do not want us to walk into destruction. And we thank you that you're willing to warn us. You're willing to have an honest conversation with us. So I pray for all of us as we worship, as we go back into your throne room for a time of fellowship with you. Help us to turn the mirror back on ourselves, God. Help us to ask, who are we really living for, God? We know the right answer, but we pray that you give us the strength to make the right decision, to follow you and to give up the emptiness, the meaninglessness that the world offers, and to embrace what you have given us through your Son. In Jesus' name, amen.